Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another Zoom edition of ATI. Dan with Matt and Brian. We're going to be talking all things NFL Week 1. We'll take a look at Week 2 as well, and we'll talk about the Celtics as they are in the Eastern Conference Finals, and we'll talk about the Western Conference Finals as well. But let's start with the NFL, guys. Week 1 is behind us. We're getting ready for Week 2. We'll start with the Patriots. I was thrilled with the way the Patriots played in Week 1. I think they exceeded my expectations. Cam exceeded my expectations at quarterback, and the team as a whole exceeded my expectations for the first game. Yes, to the Miami Dolphins, who are usually poo-poo. But remember, they did beat the Patriots last year at Gillette in the last game of the season that cost the Patriots a bye. So glass half full, I was very pleased with Week 1 as a Patriots fan. What do you guys think?
I think the biggest Miami versus Boston matchup was the Red Sox versus the Marlins. I was really excited to see that one. And then it was the Reds. Then it was the Heat versus the Celtics. Oh yeah, and then there was the football game. But yeah, I mean it was pretty close at the beginning, and then all of a sudden they broke away. I don't know. They said they simplified the offense for Cam Newton. I don't know what you guys saw, but it looked like he did pretty well, and he was actually a lot more mobile than what we used to see.
I wouldn't go too far, Dan. It was Miami, and this was a different Miami team than that one that beat the Patriots last year. And Brady was kind of mailing it in at that point, and it was a semi-full roster in terms of offensive weapons. Patriots, I think, definitely got lucky with Devontae Parker going out in that first half. That kind of helped. And it was good to see Cam come back, right? This is the most Cam Newton we've seen probably since beginning of 2017 when that team was 5-2 in Carolina. And a lot of the things that Cam wasn't doing because he was hurt, he did on Sunday. I remember last year there's a Carolina game on the line, last play of the game. It's 4th and goal from like the 1-yard line. Carolina hands the ball off to McCaffrey. Now, don't get me wrong, Christian's a great player. I love him. But Cam's 6'6", 250. He should be able to get you 1 yard. On Sunday, the Patriots gave Cam Newton the ball inside the 5-yard line over and over and over again. Obviously, Sony got a touchdown. But that's how I knew, especially, did you guys see the one play where Cam carried like 7 guys?
Right.
And I don't think he scored on that play, but he got him from like the 5 to the 1. And I was like, all right, Cam's back. He might not be throwing 100% yet, but the physical running thing that makes Cam Newton was there. And that was important.
Yeah, it gives you much more of a margin for error if a broken play or things don't work out, where Brady would just kind of pat the ball like he's Drew Bledsoe and then, throw the ball out of bounds or run to throw a guy. It looked like, with no preseason or no preseason games, I thought that might have been a factor because I know we were talking earlier about repetitions and guys with experience, but it looked like he had been the quarterback of that team for a while, knew where guys were going to be. I didn't see him, he wasn't pouting or frustrating or throwing stuff like some other quarterbacks we saw last year either,
And I think the best part, so I've been watching 98.5 all week. I've been listening to him, and it's been interesting the way they react. Now, we have all listened to 98.5 Felgram as we all know what type of opinions they have, right? But we're very strong on that Cam Newton is just being the nice guy. He's blowing smoke up people's rear ends because he wants everyone to like him and him to fit in. But I saw it the other way. So N'Keal Harry had a couple good plays, and he had a couple really bad plays on Sunday, right? The drop, a couple plays where he probably could have done something a little more exciting and didn't. The reporters tried going after him because that's what Boston media does. They pick a guy, they hate him, and it doesn't matter if he scores 6 touchdowns and 300 yards in a game, they probably will still find, well, he dropped 1 ball on first down, right? That's just the way Boston media is. Cam Newton stepped up for him. He was like, look, he bailed me out on this play. He set up a block on this play. And I really like that out of Cam. We always talk about the antics and all that, and we'll see if that happens later on. But he built up a young receiver, took him under his wing, and was like, you know what? This kid has potential. He's a first-round pick. He's 22 years old. Give him a break and let him develop in this league. He's still only played, I think, 12 NFL games. And I really like that out of him.
Yeah, that's something we didn't see from last year at all. It was basically like, I'm going to throw the ball to Edelman no matter who's open or whatever. And I don't like young guys. I'm not going to work with young guys. Don't draft young guys. I want established veterans. And, it's stupid to do that because if you think about it, Cam's helping himself. Harry's a great player from the neck down. He's got it from the neck up. It's just a confidence and experience thing. And if he hypes him up and talks him up, and you get an extra 2 or 3 catches a game, that could be the difference between being 10 games, or winning 12 games and maybe having a bye.
Mm-hmm. And one of the other things I really liked, Brian, you kind of talked about the running ability and being able to like break plays and stuff. And
Oh yeah.
everyone's talking like, well, can you run the ball 15 times a game? I think he only got hit really on maybe 3 or 4 plays where he actually got hit and tackled. The rest, he kind of fell to the ground with the defender.
Yeah.
He stepped out of bounds. And in the same breath, because the 2 games that were back to back, really, there was the Tampa game, which we'll get to with Brady. There was the Patriots with Cam Newton, and then the big matchup of Cardinals 49ers. And that game I bring up because Kyler Murray led the Cardinals in rushing, hit almost 100 yards rushing, but his was can he run the ball 15 times a game? It was look at how amazing he is at getting out of bounds and getting down. Cam Newton did the same thing. It just wasn't as elegant and as flashy. His is more rumbling and bumbling for 5-10 yards and then getting dragged to the ground. So I find it interesting how everyone was like, oh, Cam Newton can't run it 15 times, but Kyler Murray can, even though Kyler's half his size. I didn't understand that.
Well, certainly one of the thrilling parts as a Patriots fan was the way the Patriots ran the ball, not just Cam, but as a team. Was they ran the ball for 218 yards?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, pretty damn good. If they're going to be if they can keep that up, they're going to be very, very hard to beat. Obviously, there are concerns about Cam's health if he's going to run it that much. But you just brought up some good points. He didn't really get hit that hard, but that's certainly something we're going to have to keep an eye on because Cam's been injury prone, certainly in recent seasons. But if they can pound the rock like that, they're going to be tough.
He did lead the team in rushing for the day, so with 75 yards is pretty impressive. If he can do that every week, plus if they can get 100-plus yards out of, 1 or 2 other running backs, that takes a lot of pressure off of him throwing the ball. And they can move it. And if they can put up 20 points a game by just running the ball, maybe a couple of special teams plays, some defensive plays, if he has a good offensive game throwing the ball, then they're going to be in the 30s easy every game.
And they're not going to be asking him to do that. It was Miami. Like Dan mentioned at the beginning, Miami's not great. So you go out there and you're like, okay, Cam, what do you want to do to get comfortable in game 1 under a new coach and a new system, right? He's like, I want to run the football and make some easy throws. So what did he do? Ran the football, made some easy throws, got some hits under his belt. They won a football game. It wasn't pretty, but when has a Patriots victory early in the season ever been pretty? And we all remember back to when it was on to Cincinnati and Brady should retire, right? So no early season Patriots game is ever pretty.
Let's talk about the game this Sunday, and then we'll look at some of the other week 1 results. Obviously, we'll talk about Brady. But this game on Sunday night against the Seahawks, this is a really intriguing game because the Seahawks, especially on offense, they looked awesome in their win against the Falcons. And anytime Russell Wilson and Cam Newton get together, it's usually a very interesting game. They've played some playoff games in the past. Back when Cam was in the NFC. So what are you thinking we're going to see? It's in Seattle, always a tough place to play, although there won't be any fans. What are we thinking Patriots Seahawks on Sunday?
So I definitely think it being a Sunday night game could be a major factor, right? So that kind of just amplifies anything that happens. If Cam throws for 400 yards, it's an amazing performance. Oh my God, the Patriots are real. If the Patriots get blown out like they did against Houston last year on Sunday night, oh my God, the Patriots are dead. What's ever going to happen? This is what we expected. I think
people overreact to anything the Patriots do.
Yeah, I think they don't really have a strong running game. I'm not a believer in Chris Carson, and that's the Patriots' weakness is their run defense right now with all the people that opted out of the season. It's getting better, but it's still a struggle. And then you look at secondary-wise, I think Stephon Gilmore can shut down if he's on Lockett or DK Metcalf. I think that's a wash. And then J.C. Jackson's a young good corner. They can put safety coverage over the top with McCourty. So however they do that, if they go the old school Patriot where it's one-on-one with Lockett, get him out, and then double cover Metcalf or the other way around, whatever, I think it's going to be a lot of can you spy Russell Wilson and offensively put up, like Brian said, 24, 27 points. You have a chance.
What happened to the Legion of Boom in Seattle? They gave up 450 yards passing. I know they only gave up 25 points, but they Bend But Not Break Part 2, West Coast Edition. 450 yards is a ton of yards.
Your safety is playing defensive end because he likes to rush the passer and stop the run. And then your cornerbacks are either injured or opted out. So you're starting a bunch of scrubs corners. I mean, it helped that Miami couldn't put the ball in the end zone.
Well, no, I'm talking about the Seattle versus Atlanta game. Where Matt Ryan put up 450. Julio Jones had 157 yards receiving for Atlanta. But I'm like, okay, if you give up 450 yards and you only score 25 points, you're getting in the ball to the 25-yard line a lot. You get stopped or something's going on, or field goals, So, I mean, if Matt Ryan can throw for 450, does Cam Newton throw for 350?
It's not out of the realm.
Yeah.
Might be another game where it's a combination of Cam on the ground and Cam through the air, hopefully.
Right.
I think they have a chance. Like, that's the thing, is I will never say the Patriots don't have a chance with Bill. Like, obviously it was always, oh, Brady can do it. But Bill's the same way. They're always in a game before it. Brady for the fourth quarter in that last drive, but Bill for before the game. Absolutely.
Do you have the score or the games up for this weekend? Because I'm wondering what the line is for the Patriots Seahawks game.
Yeah,
The Seahawks will be favored.
you guys should be able to see that now, right?
Yep.
Seattle's favored by 3.5. Okay, that seems about right. That seems about right.
That's basically the home field advantage, right?
Yeah.
The home team always gets 3 points, right?
Right. Mm-hmm. So it's basically home field advantage, and they're giving them half a point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's a possibility.
Yeah. All right, let's backtrack back to week 1 just to go over what happened to Tom Brady. It was the first time many of us have been rooting against Tom Brady, and I have to say it was quite fun to root against Tom, especially when Tom did not play that well. And Tom threw 2 picks, one of which was a pick 6, and I was dancing in my apartment as he did that. Sorry, Tom. Thoughts on week 1 of the Tom Brady Tampa Bay experience?
Getting Gronkowski didn't seem to help him much either.
Gronk did nothing.
Yeah. He looked like slow. It looked like he's going to need about 5 or 6 weeks to get in shape. Looks like he might not have to go back to the WWE. I don't know what his deal is. I think last show I talked about the fact that Tom could have gone to San Francisco, but the GM didn't want to make the deal. He couldn't have gone to San Diego or LA or whatever the hell they are, which that would have been kind of cool. A new stadium, blah blah blah. And then he had the option to go to the Bears as well, which I think would have been his best option because I think that would have been the best team. So now he's the king of Tampa Bay, which is great. I mean, he can get 3 T-shirts for $10. If you've ever been to Tampa Bay, it's an interesting place. But I mean, he's on a shit team. Maybe they're gonna be 500. He's just gonna complain. And I mean, how bad do they have to be this year for him to be in his last year? If they're under 500, he doesn't come back next year.
Well, I mean, to say that they're a shit team after 1 week, I think is jumping too quickly to conclusions after 1 game. Right. But I thought that they would have been a little bit more competitive than that in week 1.
They weren't impressive to me at all. It looked like a team that has a quarterback that doesn't go to OTAs, that isn't on the same page with his receivers, that, he shows up on the weekends, like, okay, guys, let's do this, where the other guys are practicing all week, and they're like, all right, there's no communication here. Gronkowski knows when Brady looks at him a certain way where to go, but he's too slow to get there now. And the other guys don't know what to do. They don't know the mannerisms. They don't know, what Brady wants to do when he looks left or looks right, or his shortcuts, or, there's no Edelman there. There's no Binky there. And it's going to take him a while, I think, to get comfortable. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think anybody cares in Tampa. It's not like the fans are going to give him a hard time when the local media even notices he's there. I mean, there was a big fanfare probably his first game. But after that, it's like, oh, well, whatever. I mean, they're probably thinking about, I don't know, Alabama football in Tampa. God knows what you do in Tampa. I don't know. But
they still got the Lightning. Lightning are still in it.
Oh, yeah. They got the Lightning, yeah. But, I mean, who knows? I mean, it's funny, Dan, to see somebody celebrate, when someone does badly. It's like I had season tickets for the Red Sox, and one of the guys was a Yankees fan, and he only had the tickets because he wanted to see the Red Sox lose. And then when they started to win and win World Series, he got rid of them because it wasn't fun anymore. And it's like, where, the whole country's divided political-wise. It's like they watch news conferences to see a guy say something stupid or whatever. And whether it's sports or whatever it is, when you're watching something to watch somebody fail, I do the same thing too. If I watch the Jets, I want them to fail. If I watch the Yankees, I want them to fail. But then I'm like, all right. I'm like, it's kind of not what sports is about. You kind of want people to be successful. And I remember what Tom used to be and what he used to do. So I don't know if I feel bad for him because I think he kind of left on his own terms. But at the same time, it's kind of like, all right, well, I'm more focused on the Patriots. And Tom Brady, a couple of years from now, he's going to come back. He'll be in the Ring of Honor. He'll be in the Hall of Fame. That's what I want to focus on,
Yeah, of course.
This whole Tampa thing is kind of like, yeah, good luck. But to be honest with you, I mean, if he came back, they probably wouldn't have been, above 500, and then they would have lost to Baltimore, or like I said, or the Chiefs. I think Cam Newton, he's a much more mobile quarterback, and I think he's healthier and he's younger. I actually think he gives him a better shot to win more games, and that's a more important thing.
I got a couple of things. So one is it's very interesting. He found his Edelman Wes Welker replacement very early on in Scotty Miller. And Scotty Miller is exactly what Danny Amendola, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Troy Brown, what they all were. They were short little possession receivers that run 5-yard curl routes and 5-yard out routes, and that's all they do. But they catch the ball and they have a great rapport with Tom Brady. Whatever. The other thing is, so I don't know how in depth you watched that game, but there were a couple throws that any of us could have gone out there and probably thrown it better. Brady was 15 feet to the left, to the right. Hell, that Mike Evans touchdown, he overthrew him, and even Bruce Arians called him out saying, no, Mike was in the right place. Tom just missed him. And there were the pick six, for being in the league 20, 23 years, even if you throw that incomplete, you don't throw it behind the receiver. Tom Brady should know that. Now, does that mean his arm strength's going down? I don't think so. But
can't blame the win. They were in a dome.
Yeah, so there was a lot going on that Tom Brady didn't look like Tom Brady. Now, I'm not going to jump to Brian's thing and say they're only a 500 team because I'm going to give them a week or two to kind of get things flowing. But if you tell me, like even if they lose this week, what do I care? The 0-2, Tom Brady has come back from 0-2. We all remember 2003. They went 14-0 after that and then won the Super Bowl. But if they're week 5, week 6, and they're 2-3 and still sputtering, and Tom Brady's 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and 200 yards type thing, and Mike Evans, he had a hamstring, and Chris Godwin's got a concussion, but that team, if it doesn't fill out the way it needs to, I know they're going to blame Arians, but Tom Brady is the quarterback on the field. He still throws the ball wherever he thinks the person is open.
And how many weeks are we away from Tom Brady getting shut down for the season? Giselle gets a shipment of HGH. He takes it, and then he wins the Super Bowl next year with the Denver Broncos.
They do have to sell the house. They do have to move. So maybe they just need some of the moving supplies and just kind of wherever they end up moving.
Because that's what I'm waiting for.
Okay.
You bring up Bruce Arians, and I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but there was some quote that Arians said, which he was basically throwing Brady under the bus. Do you know what I'm talking about? He said something.
So Brady, the 2 interceptions.
He looked great in practice, and then he said something about how he didn't look the same out there.
Yeah,
this is only after 1 game. And if you look back at 20 years of Tom Brady in a Patriots uniform, can you remember one time that Bill Belichick threw his quarterback under the bus? No.
I'm sure he did it all the time in meetings, right? It was behind closed doors. But right. And literally, I think it was after the game press conference, he, in not too many words, basically said a quarterback of Tom Brady's stature can't go out there and just lazily throw the ball around and throw it was about the interceptions. I think it was more about the first one, let alone the pick six. But he basically, you're right. Then he called him out, and I mean, is he wrong? I know you're not supposed to say those things in public, but is he wrong that Brady probably shouldn't be doing that? And Brian mentioned his recent lackadaisical effort at practices.
Right, he's not wrong, but I don't know how that's going to sit with Tom.
As much of an asshole you think Bill Belichick is, he knows what he's doing. He says the right things. He gives the opponents absolutely no bulletin board material whatsoever. Yep. He takes everything very seriously. You know, from when he was 5 years old up till now, he's been around professional coaches, college coaches. He knows the right way to do things, and you see time and time again, he's a perfect example of what not to do if you're an NFL coach.
Mm-hmm.
I want to we'll do picks in a second. But I want to send condolences to Bill because his mom passed away, I think yesterday or a couple of days ago. Oh. We send our best wishes to the Belichick family. I think she was in her 90s.
Yeah. 98, I think.
Yeah, so she had a hell of a run, but we wish the best to Bill and his whole family.
Yeah, he watches the show, so I just want to tell him we're thinking about it.
Definitely. So we want to do our gut reaction picks. I just want to tell the audience. I went 10-4 last week. That's impressive.
Can I get 15 seconds on the Giants' porous offensive line real quick about last week? I don't know if we saw Monday Night Football, anyone.
Pittsburgh, New York.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, New York. My Lord. Everyone's giving Saquon crap. No, don't get me wrong. Hello. Bias. I get all that. I get that. And you can.
He's no Benny Snell.
But first off, when your yardage to first contact is -3 yards, if you're not only negative total, but you have negative yards until first contact, that's not the running back's fault. You could put Barry Sanders, Adrian Peterson. They're not getting yardage when you have 7 guys in front of you. And also, Tiki Barber called him out because he can't pass protect. Well, the reason he doesn't pass protect is because he's the only one that can catch a ball on that team. So there's a reason he's not pass protecting is because he's catching
You want
balls
him
and trying
to
to
throw
save
the
Daniel
ball,
Jones.
and you want him to catch the ball. He can't do everything.
Oh, God, I hate the Giants. All right, sorry, Dan. Continue.
I was waiting for Giselle to say something like that after Sunday's game.
Yeah.
But just going off the Giants quickly, how are they literally like the worst team in the league this year? Because I saw Tommy Curran.
That was last year.
No, that's the Jets. The wrong one.
Power rankings after week 1, and he had the Giants as the 32nd team.
Hey, they at least had a shot at some point in that game. The Jets woke up and did not have a shot. Adam Gase is the worst football coach in America. High school, like their high school coach is better than him. Okay?
Baltimore 38-6 though against Cleveland. That was a stinker.
Yeah, and they're playing tonight, right, against the Bengals.
I think so.
Right, let's do our picks. Can you put that on the screen? Actually, that'd be great if we can just do that. Yeah. Yep. All right, so we'll just go through, and I'll just rip through, and then Matt, you do your gut. If everyone wants to do their picks. Bengals Browns tonight. I'm gonna go Bengals.
Sounds good.
Yeah, Joe Burrow proved a lot last week. I like him.
Oh wow, but Cleveland's favored by 6. I'm gonna try to not look at the spreads. Patriots Seahawks. I'm picking Patriots.
Yep.
Giants Bears. I'll pick Bears.
No brainer.
Falcons Cowboys. I'll pick Cowboys.
Falcons.
Okay. Yeah. Lions Packers. I'll pick Packers.
Yeah, Packers. Sure.
Just
Matt Patricia, especially after what he said this week, not a chance.
Jaguars Titans. I'll go Titans.
Yep.
Give me Gardner. I like Gardner. Okay.
Vikings Colts. That's an interesting one. I'm gonna go with the home team. I'm gonna go with Phil Rivers to get his first win as a Colt.
Give me Minnesota. They'll bounce back after last week.
Okay. Bills Dolphins. I'm gonna go with the Bills to go 2-0. 49ers Jets. You got to go Niners to bounce back.
You have to.
Rams Eagles. Man, the Eagles really shit the bed against the Washington football team last week.
There's no way they can handle Aaron Donald. There's no way they handle.
Yeah, I'll go Rams.
Rams.
Broncos Steelers. I'll go Pittsburgh at home.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep.
Panthers Bucks. You know what? They're favored by 8.5. I'll say Tom's gonna pick up his first win.
No, 0-2.
So I think Tampa will win, but they don't cover. No way Tampa covers that.
Yeah, that's a tough spread. Arizona, Washington. I'll go Arizona to go 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Chiefs, Chargers. I'll go Chiefs.
Yep.
Ravens, Texans. That's an interesting one, but I'll go Ravens.
Yep.
I'm gonna go same thing, Ravens, but I don't think they cover.
Yeah, that's a big spread, especially at Houston.
Yeah.
And then Saints Raiders on Monday night. Brian's Las Vegas Raiders in their Vegas debut against the Saints. You know what? At home, I mean the Saints are favored by 6, but I'm gonna go with the Raiders.
No, nobody beats Las Vegas. I don't mean the team. I mean the actual city. If you can survive that, for like a week, then good luck to you. They're gonna have the home field advantage.
Raiders looked real good against the Panthers on Sunday. They looked real good against them.
Their offense is great. Just their defense choked in the end of the game. They almost blew it.
Mm-hmm. So I think we're very much chalk across the board, except for I think these 2 games were the only ones where we had some differing opinions.
Agreeing.
Now, Matt, you had 3 games last week
that were all wrong.
Atlanta, Minnesota, and Carolina, where you doubted the Swami, and you
and they were all wrong. So take that as you will.
Now, you could also say that Danny was 10-6 because he did not give you any Monday night games.
In my defense, you never threw those games out to me.
Yeah. So he was 10. We'll say he's 10-4. So he's 10-4, and I guess Matt, that would make you what? 7-7.
Sure. Yeah. Let's go with that.
Okay. All right. So we'll take a look next week, and we'll see how we're doing.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep track of that. All right, let's shift to the NBA. The conference finals are now upon us. The Celtics and the Heat. We'll start there.
What about that the Clippers game? They got to talk about that first.
We're just gonna be like the Clippers and not show up.
The Clippers are gonna clipper, I guess, huh? That's what I tweeted a couple of days ago.
The curse of Don Sterling.
The curse of Don Sterling. The curse of just the franchise.
Michael Allo with Candy.
3-1 series lead. It was looking like we were going to get that LA versus LA conference final, and the Clippers just absolutely blew it. What a choke.
Is Doc Rivers going to fire himself?
Yeah, what more can you say about what happened to the Clippers?
Well,
what happened to Paul George and Kawhi Leonard?
Well, so that's the interesting thing, right? So Paul George is nowhere to be found. MIA report, if found, return here. And finally he's returned and they lose 3 in a row. Like, he was awful and they were up 3-1. And then all of a sudden, I think the last 3 games, he averaged like 25, 26 points, which is okay for a playoff 3-game run. And they lose all 3. I mean, obviously, Lou Williams can't score 7 points in a game 7. He can't blow a 14-point
wings,
lead.
Lou. Stay away from those wings.
Yeah. So, but I mean, talk about a team that fights. I thought they were like the 2012 Hawks, where they're a great regular season team, but they're good.
Yeah, that was. Well, I guess the Bucks losing in 5 games to the Heat was shocking, but the 2 shocking results from the NBA playoffs this year is what I just said: Heat over the Bucks, and then the Nuggets coming back against the Clippers 3-1. That was surprising. But let's turn to.
Do you guys give Denver a chance over the Lakers at all? Or no.
I don't, but I also didn't think they'd come back from 3-1.
I think it depends on what they do. Are they going to start off slow? Like Jamal Murray, I think, was averaging like 15 points a game or 18 points a game in the first 4 games, and then he turned it on the last 3. If he and Jokic come out strong and they have Gary Harris and all that, I think they have a chance. But if they're slow, I don't think they can come back from 3-1 for a 3rd time in this postseason.
When does that series? Tomorrow?
Tonight? Because the Celtics are on at 6.
It might be a 9 o'clock game tonight.
There's no way in hell the South. No, there is only one game, and it's at 7 o'clock tonight.
Really? Okay.
So it's tomorrow.
Which gives us some time here, as it's 6:35 as we tape this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's turn to Celtics. So the Celtics, since we taped last week, they defeat the Raptors in 7 games, a very, very competitive, entertaining Game 7. Yep. And then Game 1 against the Heat, also entertaining. The way I look at it as a Celtics fan, glass half empty. How do you blow a 14-point lead? That can't happen. Glass half full.
A 14-point lead, Dan, in today's NBA with the 3-pointers. Especially in the first quarter, it's meaningless. It's like it's almost like being up 1 in a baseball game. You know, it's dangerous.
Lead in the fourth quarter.
What's that?
It was a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter.
The Celtics were up by 14 in the fourth quarter against Miami.
Yeah,
it was
pretty
the
sure.
3rd or 4th quarter, one of the 2. Yeah,
maybe the 3rd. I don't think it was the 4th. Well, but regardless of what it is, I mean, I think that towards the end of it, it was Kemba just couldn't get a shot off, and they went to overtime because he couldn't get a shot off. And as bad as the Celtics played at the end of the game, it's that Bam Adebayo, he has that block. I mean, that was the play of the game. You can say the play of the game before that was when Smart flopped and he got a free throw before the ball was inbounded, so they got possession and he got a free throw out of it, which basically saved their ass. But Tatum dunks that ball, then you're gonna end one. That the game's over. But it still doesn't leave a good taste in your mouth. You're right. I mean, with the 14-point lead, you really shouldn't have put the pedal to the metal with that team. And you I wouldn't say it's as demoralizing as giving up the 3-pointer, the Toronto hit against the Celtics, but it's a game that you left on the table and you should have won.
If you want to be optimistic from it, the Heat had to make basically every single clutch shot just to barely win, and they did that. Give the Heat credit; they made every clutch play, and they made the clutch defensive play too. Yep. But they barely won, and they played pretty much a perfect game down the stretch. So that's the reason I'm optimistic.
Which is kind of what I wanted to go at. Tatum, I think he went 1 of 8 in his last 8 shots, or like 0 of 7, whatever it was. Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, him, Jaylen Brown, and Kemba have played nearly 50 minutes a game with all these overtime games going on. So I'm not shocked, but like Dan said, the Celtics missed every shot and the Heat hit every shot, and it's still only won by 2 in overtime. I don't think that's going to happen. If the Celtics are more talented, they're, I think, better coached, but I'm starting to wonder if coaching even matters, because late in games it's all give it to your best player and move out of the way. But I think the big thing is obviously Kemba can't hit threes right now. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I think the ball still needs to be in his hands because he's the best playmaker that team has. And if you just want to ISO ball with Tatum, fine, but you still need to mix it up, I think, because I think it was game 6 maybe game 5, one of the games in Toronto late in the series. Kemba couldn't hit the broadside of a barn, but he was able to pick Daniel Tice, pick Jaylen Brown, pick Marcus Smart in the corner, and he was still drawing people because he's Kemba Walker and he has that mentality. So as much as Tatum wants to hit that 30-footer for the win, I still think Kemba needs to be the primary distributor, at least on some of the possessions, because he's probably the best passer this team has.
I think, Tice fouling out was big too, because he was a plus 14 in the game. But in a game like this and games in Toronto, you see it'd be really nice if they had a guy off the bench who could average 15 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. And, Hayward's out again tonight. He's doubtful. I guess tomorrow they're going to kind of give a little bit of an update. It'd be nice if they could win this game, and then he's ready for game 3 because you can put him out there. You can take out Kemba, and you can use, Hayward as a ball handler. And it really frees a lot of those guys up.
And I really think your final 7-minute rotation, that's in stone. Tice, if he can play, if he's not fouled out, Marcus, Jalen, Kemba, Tatum. That's going to stick, even if Hayward comes back. But I think the biggest thing is you add a guy like Hayward that you can play in the third quarter, because the Celtics, I think, are minus like 100, it feels like, in this playoffs in the third quarter. So you add him on that can score and defend and rebound and play make. I think that changes everything, because even if you break even in the third quarter, it's a hell of a lot better than the rest of the third quarters you played all postseason.
Yeah, they've been really lucky. They've leaned on Williams a lot. Not Rob Williams, but what was the other guy there?
Grant
Williams. He's actually hit some wide open threes. But I mean, and if he doesn't hit one of those threes, you might lose a couple more of those games. You probably don't get past Toronto. He's a smart player. He reminds me of almost like a not Leon Poe, but like he's a very smart player, but he's got some physical limitations. He knows where to be. But if you have Gordon Hayward out there, it makes things so much easier. And I just hope that he gets healthy enough because they're a better team than Miami. We got 3 All-Stars, they got 2. And they got Jimmy Butler, who's like a B+, A-. And then we got, Tatum, who I think is on par with Butler. He's just younger. And then we also have Brown. And then, Kemba, I think it's a mental thing with him. I really think he's okay because he wouldn't play that many minutes if he was hurt. I just think he wouldn't play. But, I mean, he's just missing shots. I think it's in his head. And the same thing happened to Ray Allen back when the Celtics won their title. There was like a 2-month period where he just could not score a bucket. But he will come around, and I know he did get to the line a couple times. And he's hitting his clutch free throws. He's not, puckering up like Williams did and bricking too. But tonight, I don't want to say tonight's a must-win, but it feels like it.
I was going to say, I think it really does feel like a must-win, especially with the way the Heat have been playing this postseason. I mean, they have so much momentum right now. Like we said, they beat the Bucks in 5 games. That was shocking. And now to win game 1 against the Celtics in overtime, they're playing with a lot of momentum. They're playing with house money right now. They're the underdog. They're the 5 seed. So, yeah.
Don't let Kelly Olynyk beat you. And I mean, Kelly Olynyk makes it to the East and to the finals. And Jay Crowder, it's like, why can't we get players like that?
I know, 2 former Celtics. Yeah.
I mean,
where's Bob Lobel to say that line?
He's somewhere out there. And I mean, let's be honest though, the big thing, and I know that he's our favorite player. Could you imagine if Kyrie was going through obviously I don't think they'd be there if Kyrie, but could you imagine if Kyrie was going through the same slump that Kemba is right now? Do you think he'd be passing at the end of games? Or do you think he'd be chucking up 40-footers off the back?
Probably he would have left the bubble.
Probably.
He would have just quit.
Built a house like Kanye West.
It's a possibility. Kanye's gone off the deep end too.
Before we go, I wanted to we didn't bring this up during the football, but because I haven't really watched much baseball, I haven't been used to the fake crowd noise. Mm-hmm. And the fake crowd noise during football, it's not the biggest thing in the world. It's not a huge deal, but I don't like it. What do you guys think of the fake crowd noise? I'd rather just let the atmosphere be what the atmosphere is. I don't need the fake crowd noise.
The Colts said we don't know what you're talking about.
Your audio is different now. What did you say?
The Indianapolis Colts said that there's no crowd noise. They don't know what you're talking about.
Well, so I joked about it, right? So we watch Red Zone, and I joked. I was like, well, it doesn't make a difference because the host of Red Zone doesn't shut up the entire game. So I never hear the crowd and the commentators anyways. You just hear him blabbering the whole time. So it was no different. But, I mean, in all honesty, football is football. It's definitely the weirdest when they show the crowd, like the stands, and there's no one there. I definitely think the best game was in Jacksonville because all of a sudden here's this little underdog, should be getting the first overall pick team. They had fans and they were able to win. So obviously it's a lot different, but 6-1, it doesn't make a difference to me.
That'll be interesting. So what are the there's 5 or 6 teams that are allowed to have limited capacity.
Titans just approved it today for 7,000. Jaguars are, I think, at 5,000. The Broncos are on probation. They tried it with 500 friends and family. The Chiefs, like Brian said, and then Cincinnati and Cleveland get to pick 2 home games this year to have 8,000, 7,000, one of those in there.
You said Titans are one?
Titans just approved today, yeah.
Because they're a team that I'm looking at this year to make a run. So that'll be interesting to see if that has anything to do with.
Is that true?
You're a little muffled there, Brian.
The Big Ten is back. Is that true?
Oh yeah, Big Ten announced yesterday that they're
back in October, right?
Yeah, which is I could go down a 20-minute rabbit hole on the fact that it's called just postpone, don't cancel, and then try to reconvene after that. Just say that we're not going to play until October 1st, and then all of a sudden, hey, look at that, we found something out, and we can play by October 5th instead of October 1st. Same thing with the Pac-12. Pac-12 on March 13th or whatever said there's no way in hell we play sports at all this year. All of a sudden, everyone else is playing. They're like, well, maybe we can play this year. It's like, no. You made your bed. Lay in it. Go shut up and go away. You don't get to come back.
The Pac-12 right now is the only – because the Big Ten is coming back, the Pac-12 is the only major football conference that's not playing right now, right?
Yep.
They'll be back within a week.
Oh, I guarantee you, though. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's too much money. All right, that's it. We'll see what the Celtics do. They're tipping off in about 15 minutes. We all got to go get ready to watch that. Thanks, gentlemen. For Brian and Matt, I'm Dan. Spin that damn music. We'll talk to you guys soon.